we don't believe that. So if we happen to be in the midst of fiery trials, we should not consider that to be a sign of God's disfavor. No. Look at what the Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 9 through 11. He says, God has displayed us, the apostles, as men condemned to death. We have experienced hunger and thirst. We are poorly clothed. We are beaten often. And we are homeless. When reviled, we bless. When persecuted, we endure. We've been treated as the filth of the earth. Here we have a description of what the apostles experienced, what they endured for the sake of their Christian faith. They were exposed to torture. They were poorly clothed. They were homeless, not like some of the TV preachers today who live in palaces. They were treated like the scum of the earth, as if they were the scum of the earth. They were, although noble in character, they were righteous and noble in character, virtuous people. But those who are opposed to God, those who rejected Christ, treated them as filth. And that's exactly how the Turks treated our ancestors in the Ottoman Empire. They called us Yavur, infidel. And this word Yavur carries with it the notion that the infidels are also impure. They're filthy. Dehumanization precedes any persecution, any genocide. That's how the Turks dehumanized the Armenians. They considered us to be filthy infidels who don't deserve to live. And that made it easier for them to try to eliminate us. If the apostles didn't understand the reason for their suffering, they would have given up and they would have never endured to the end. Jesus says, "Be faithful to me until death, and I'll give you the crown of life." So the Christian is a person who doesn't give up hope. Even in the midst of a fiery furnace, he doesn't give up hope because he knows the end result. We live in a world which is at war with God. Do you want proof from the Bible? Revelation chapter 12, verse 17. This is a verse which seldom people refer to. But this verse tells us that we live in a world which is at war with God. Look at what it says. It says, "The dragon was enraged with the woman and the remnant of her offspring who keep God's commandments and bear testimony for Christ." Now the dragon is the devil. The book of Revelation is the only book in the Bible that's written in symbolic language. So the dragon is the symbol of the devil. The woman, the righteous woman, is a symbol of the church. The harlot is a symbol of the apostate church. So here we have the devil who is enraged with the woman. The devil is enraged with the church and with the remnant of her offspring, who are characterized as commandment-keeping Christians and witnessing Christians. The devil was angry with those Christians who kept the commandments of God and bore their testimony for Christ. And Jesus says, they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. The people who opposed Christ will oppose us today. The Apostle Peter tells us that Christ suffered, living for us an example that we should follow his steps. When Jesus was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but he committed himself to him who judges righteously. I know that every year when April comes, all Armenians are saddened by the memory of what happened in 1915. And some Armenians are led to think of retaliation. They want to even the score. But that's not the right attitude. That's not the Christian spirit. The Apostle Peter tells us that we should walk in the steps of Christ. He set an example for us. When Christ suffered, he didn't threaten anyone, but he committed himself to God, who judges righteously. And we should be the same. We should do the same. Instead of taking matters into our own hands, we must commit ourselves and the wrong done to us to God, who is the righteous judge. And he can punish the evildoers better than any one of us. So, now we know why sometimes innocent people suffer. Because they are targeted by the people who oppose Christ and his gospel. Those who live righteously in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. But I urge all of you to endure all hardship by looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of faith, who will give you his grace, who will enable you to endure all suffering, and eventually you will reign with him throughout eternity.